The Baltic Sea. It can be flat, it can be stormy. Cold and frozen in the winter, warm with golden beaches in the summer. Surrounded by 9 countries, it's busy with shipping, fishing, wind farms, pipelines, cables. It has the promise of aquaculture, new renewable energy developments, tourism and other ocean economies. It's not deep, it's a little over 459 metres at the most, and it covers a little over 400,000 square kilometres. But economically, politically, historically, this expanse of water holds its own in importance. There are ferries and cargo vessels crisscrossing the Baltic, connecting all its littoral states, well, nearly all. These ferries and freight vessels, the ro-ros and ropaxes as we call them, are hugely important, carrying a lot of the intra-European freight to and from the Nordic countries with their mainland European littoral Baltic partners and neighbours. These vessels are snapshots of Baltic life, and the seafarers working on them are unwitting cogs in an economic machine that needs to keep on turning, and needing to do so ever greener, more economically and more sustainably. Hi, I'm Craig. If you don't know me, I'm an ex-seafarer, a former mainstream broadcast journalist and now a maritime and shipping journalist. I'm editor of Fathom World and I'm a host of this, the Aronnax podcast. And this is the first of 3 episodes as I take a tour of the Baltic on board 3 Ropax vessels, courtesy of the Finnish shipowner Finnlines. Finnlines, owned by Italy's Grimaldi Group, has 3 of its routes opened to passengers as well as freight. They connect Sweden with Finland, Finland with Germany, and Germany with Sweden. And it's these 3 routes that I intend to sail on. Stockholm to Naantali in the South West of Finland via the Åland Islands, and then Helsinki all the way south through the Baltic to Travemünde in Germany, and the shortest of the 3 legs, Travemünde to Malmö in the south of Sweden, where the plan is to get a train back to my hometown, Stockholm. The 3 legs give me a chance to look at the Baltic, look at the ships, get to know some of the crew, young ones and more experienced ones, and to rediscover modern shipping and learn about the Baltic Sea today with the help of some regional experts. But before I start, I'm going to mention Sea Focus and specifically Intelligence Hunt. Intelligence Hunt is a rolling opportunity to connect the next generation students at universities studying shipping, logistics and trade to link with organisations and businesses that understand the needs to find new thinking and out-of-the-box thinking for the modern challenges that companies will need. So back to a cold, dark, winter Monday morning in Sweden, having been dropped off at the gates of the port of Kapellskär in the north of the county of Stockholm. It's handily located right at the end of the E18, and therefore the ferries act as a kind of sea bridge for the motorway which continues across to Finnlines. So it's in Kapellskär that my Baltic journey began on board the Ropax vessel Europa Link.
Yes, Ida, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to Finland.
Oh, okay.
But I have a bicycle without a bicycle.
Oh, okay. Yes. Do you have passport or ID?
To travel from Kapellskär to Åland or Finland on Finnlines, one currently needs a car or at least a bicycle when booking a ticket. But as I had neither, I got a lift the short journey from the gate onto the vessel's cargo deck via the main aft ramp. Europa Link was built in 2007 and has served in service with Finnlines in the Baltic and the parent company Grimaldi in the Mediterranean over its life, being placed on that Sweden to Finland route about a year ago while the company awaits the arrival of 2 new buildings. They're called Finn Canopus and Finn Sirius. They're coming into service later this year and next year, and more about them later. It was on the deck of Europa Link that I met Nicholas Christiansen, the vessel's chief officer, checking out the loading plan and the ship stability in the aft cargo office while he waited for the Monday morning cargo to be driven on board.
Yeah, in this case I'm responsible for the cargo. I'm like a foreman on board. I'm responsible for almost all the work on board. I'm the second after the captain, so everything that involves the work on board That's my table.
Do you do just the cargo, or do you do the navigation as well? Do you split the roles, the responsibilities here?
Yeah, because we have to help each other. People have to eat, people have to sleep. So it's a little bit, you do everything. But my main purpose here is the cargo handling and not the navigation. All right.
So this is the
Cargo office.
cargo office.
Off. We get access to ballast system, healing system, and we also have the cargo loading program, NAPA. It's a very common program where it calculates all the stability and
Yeah.
it's a stability program.
So now we are fully loaded.
Yeah.
Well, we've loaded what we're going to load on today's voyage.
Yeah. I'm also finished with the ballast system. Today we will have a draft of 6.5. Not much, but enough. There is calm weather. I usually, or chief officer usually, talk with the captain, and we agree if it's a very bad weather, then we have more tanks to fill. But we also know that when we arrive in Naantali this evening, we're gonna have a full ship from there, so all the water have to go out, and that takes time.
So do you have a ballast water treatment system?
Yes,
in there as well?
Exactly.
Is that in that diagram that's in front of me here?
It is. So this is an automatic system. So you actually just put in how much water you want in the tank and easily press start, and everything is solved by itself. The things I do with this is called Valmarin, and like you said, it's what I understand, it's a part of the Wärtsilä. I keep control of the ballast. We have the fresh water.
All the time when talking with me, Nicholas is in discussions with the shore personnel on a friendly way, because this vessel comes in and out of these ports almost daily. And so over the months and even years, the crew and the shore personnel have got to know each other quite well, even to the point of being invited over to each other's houses for barbecues. Nicholas, it turns out, is Swedish and lives quite close to Kapellskär. However, not all the crew members do, coming from across Sweden, Finland and Åland Islands. But many have had similar beginnings of their careers. I write a lot about all of the changes with new fuels, ammonia and hydrogen and methanol.
Yeah.
I write about all the digitalisation and autonomous systems that come onto ships, and there's all this talk about different types of solutions. Do you see an exciting industry when you look at all of that, or is that slightly nervous for you?
No, absolutely not. I think the opposite. I'm hunger for the new technology. That is like the main questions I have asked for about the new ships. What is the technology? What I understand is that we're gonna continue on the fuel that we have now, but that's also something that the company save up with. They don't want to be depending on a ship on a certain route. If something happens and they have to change route. And
Have you noticed that there's a lack of interest with people around you to go to sea? If you're out, you go home frequently, the people around here will know that you're a seafarer when you're at home. Do you find people go, no, I don't understand why you want to be a seafarer? All that time on a ship away from home?
Yeah, it's a very common question. I get it a lot. How can you work with this? If you get a family, how will it work? But what I understand is that working as a seafarer, I think it's a better life than most people at home have. If you calculate or think about it, that people work from 8 to 5, come home late evenings, they have kids, it's just a couple of hours before they go to sleep. When I'm home, I'm 100% home. Of course, it also means that my girlfriend, wife, whatever, have to take the responsibility for 100% when I'm here also. But I think we have talked about this a lot, and I think our life is, it's not, at least not worse than other people's life.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, and if you don't have kids, then you have, then you maybe have a girlfriend or boyfriend, and I have been working with this for my whole career. I don't know anything else, but one thing I know is that I appreciate my relationship a lot more because I'm away from home.
So I leave Nicholas doing the last of the loading and getting ready to close the ship's ramps and stern doors and head up to the bridge to meet the captain and the line pilot, Anton.
My name is Anton Stenback, and I'm line pilot here at Europalink. Yeah, the pilot is the officer on the watch. He's in charge of the bridge here, and the officer is it's like a pilot co-pilot system, and it works pretty well here in the archipelago. So,
I mean, there's a lot. How many manoeuvres would there be from leaving Åland to getting to Naantali? How many alterations of course? How many waypoints? What sort of... I can see it on the chart there now. We've just... Yes.
I would say it's about 50 around.
That's 50 times the vessel's going to alter course between leaving Åland and getting to Naantali, something like 4 or 5 hours later.
Yeah, it depends. We have also alternative routes, and it depends on the route as well. But
So you have worked with Finnlines all of your career?
no, I was earlier on Birka Cargo, an Åland-based company, and on ro-ro vessels.
But you did your tickets, you got your certificate of competency in Åland, at the university in Åland?
Yes, started at 2005 in school, and from there I got my ticket 2010, so I've been an officer for 13 years.
Do you find that there's been a lot of changes even over those years since you started in the industry and today?
Yeah, it's been a lot of changes. For starters, when I started out as a officer, we were using paper charts. Now we're all electronic.
Do you, as a guy sort of working on the bridge and being interested in sort of the shipping industry, do you keep abreast of the changes that are going on when we're talking about new fuels and new ways of operating ships, even autonomous systems and unmanned ships?
Yeah, of course we keep us up to date, and we read about it. Usually it's so far in the future, like, okay, the autonomous bridges it's been talking about that now for 10 years, and I think they have some small road ferry here in the Åbo archipelago that they're trying something out, but for these vessels it's so far in the future. Then it's more maybe with the fuel, but that's not.
I mean, the one thing that I see about these vessels is, I mean, they're not necessarily big vessels, but when you're going in between these islands and the buoys, like there's one right now going a few metres down our port side, they seem quite large compared to the fairway.
They're big enough, if we say so. Well, here in the archipelago we have, of course, the space between the buoys, but also the draft is limit here so as well. So this size is about a little bit bigger than this, but
yeah. But the new ones that are going to come in are a little bit larger, I've heard, and able to carry a little bit more cargo and passengers.
Yeah, that's for sure. They're about 1 lane wider and is it 15 or 20 meters longer, and wind surface, that's where it's the big change.
So the amount of surface that can get hit by the wind and possibly knocked off course?
Yeah, and especially during maneuvering.
So there has to be that balance between being an expert at the job,
yeah,
and getting bored of the job if it's repetitively sort of like... But do you get at all... I'm not saying that you would, but just for the hell of it, go a different route. You said there's different routes to go around. Would you think, Oh, okay. Tomorrow we're going to take that route instead of that route.
Sometimes, and if it's some other traffic,
Yeah.
we don't want. We try to avoid going
Yeah.
the same route.
That must make the summers a little bit more interesting then, when you're trying to avoid all the sailing boats and motorboats and tourists.
You stay alert.
Yeah.
Most, and also where you need the long experiences, all the different weather conditions. It's boring if it's 0 wind for 2 weeks. Then you think it a bit different if it's blowing 20 meters per second.
Yes, there's that old adage, you're not an officer because it's really exciting and something exciting to do all the time. You're there because you know when to pull your finger out and act quickly.
Yeah, and especially here in the archipelago, it can go very quick with the small distances to islands and buoys, and say for once blackout somewhere where it's really narrow, you have to react.
Quickly put the anchor down.
Or something. Yeah. We have some. You can maneuver.
I leave the bridge and I head down towards the engine room to meet a newly appointed chief engineer.
Vainio, nice to meet you.
How long have you been chief engineer?
A couple of weeks now. Permanently I am a third engineer, but with the new vessels coming, the original chief engineer is occupied with the planning, and I'm taking over for that time, but a couple of months.
So we're going to go and try and get into the engine room, and now it's getting noisy. That's the alarm saying that the door is opening for us to go into the engine room area. It's not the quickest of doors. And now down some stairs, of course. One needs stairs to get to the bottom of a ship, into the engine room.
Here we are in the control room.
And as ever in a control room, I see there are tea and biscuits.
It keeps up the good team spirit. One way of doing that.
So you've been chief engineer yourself for just a couple of weeks now?
Yeah.
So what were you doing before you became an engineer? How long have you been at sea?
From 2007. So before that I was a senior design engineer on mobile phones. So totally different things and requirements. And in the end I found that not so satisfactory, and I enjoy being on maritime business much more.
So can I ask, how old were you when you decided you were going to go to sea? Because I did so when I was about 17 years old.
I was 45 and now I'm 60 and still enjoying my life.
So what made you go into the engineering world and not deck, for example, or...
Interest on machines, of course, and technology, and eager to learn new things.
So these ships are built 2007. So if I get this right, they've got 4 Wärtsilä engines, 2 propellers.
Yes, that's correct. Pitch propeller and 2 shaft generators, 3 auxiliary engines, 2 of the exhaust gas boilers and 2 oil-fired boilers doing steam and warm.
So how many engineer crew have you got? So there's a chief engineer, a second engineer, how many?
Chief first, 2 second, 2 motorman for them, sanitary, electrician, is it 9, 7 or 8 or 9? 9.
And they'll work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off,
Yeah.
the same as the deck?
Yes, 2 weeks period, yeah.
So what do you normally do during the day when you're here? Are you waiting for things to go wrong? Is there a lot of maintenance to do? Are you waiting for the orders from the bridge to tell you when things are happening, when you're going in and out of ports?
All of that in a good mess. So we are waiting for the worst, but preparing to that, and maintenance in this ship takes quite a lot of time due to the age. But well, that is the same thing with every vessel, so it's normal.
But you've got these new ships that are going to be joining this route. So are you likely to be going over to the new ships?
I'm looking forward to that, yes, because I want to learn new things and like new challenges always. So we'll see how it goes.
Since 2000 and when was it? 2007 when you sort of made the decision to come into the industry. Have you seen a lot of engineering changes, and do you think that there's going to be a lot more? Is it going to be an exciting period?
I believe the pace of new technologies, it's increasing. So I think it's the most how would I say, action is upcoming with the new technologies, with these hybrid technologies and everything that comes with those batteries and renewable energy sources.
Yeah, but it must be a big change in terms of what you need to know, because you're suddenly going to become a electrical engineer, a battery engineer.
That's correct. So it is you need to achieve new areas of expertise. Indeed.
Are there any similarities you see between where the industry is going and what you saw in the mobile phone industry?
You could say so, yes, because there the big change happened earlier. This industry, maritime industry, is coming kind of behind, 20 years behind, but it's coming, taking the same steps.
As Europa Link leaves Långnäs in Åland and begins the winding journey through the thousands of small islands, islets, rocks and buoys, I visit the vessel's passenger area where there's a bar and restaurant for tourists and travellers. It's hard on days like this not to sit and daydream when watching the archipelago go past the windows. The company's new vessels that are coming onto this route, they're larger, they've got larger windows and more amenities as the company tries to entice families to take this Kapellskär Naantali route rather than with the longer routes being offered by its two main rivals between Sweden and Finland. But today, as I sail in midwinter on the old vessels, the restaurant and rest areas are fairly quiet, so it gives me a chance to talk with Julia and Marul, who are responsible for passenger care, both on the Europa Link and then hopefully on the new ships when they arrive. Marult is a senior purser, while Julia would be the first face anybody would see when they come on board, being behind the reception, and then once the vessel leaves, working in the bar and the duty-free shop. So I asked her about her decision to start working on a ship.
I like traveling, I like to see people, I like this view, what there is, ocean. This is very different, like I'm working in the country.
So what do you think about sort of this whole industry? Because one of the things that we see in the whole shipping industry is that not a lot of people really know about it, and not a lot of people want to go to sea. Not a lot of women either want to actually take a career in this industry, and it might be slightly different in the hotel side of things, I guess, but in terms of actually sort of taking a career at sea, or taking a career that involves sort of living and working on a ship.
I don't agree with that one.
Yes.
No?
No. Because now this is like new normal we working.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Like how can I explain that?
Okay, I think you are going to answer about the life. It is lifestyle.
Yes, because whole world changes and people wants to making different things.
Mario, you've been in the industry a little bit longer than Julia, perhaps.
Yes, I think I have. I have.
How have you seen things change? Because you've not always worked at Finnlines, you've worked on other ferry operators around the Baltic.
True.
So you're probably a little bit more sort of familiar with the whole kind of Baltic tourist, freight, cruise, passenger ferry sort of mix.
Exactly. Yeah.
How's it changed over the years?
It has been changed a little bit, and now the passengers start to find also other announcement than the typical Finnish boats when we are talking about. Now the people they are waiting more service, and they are also interested about green values, which is very important to Finnlines, and also to my cooperators and the workers who I have working here with me in the duty. So now the young people, they know very well the green values. They like that in here in the ferries that we are doing the recycling thing, and we are using the recycled materials even in the new superstar vessels which are coming. So that is something which we have to look forward all the time, what is happening. And then
is that true? Do you look at what a company like Finnlines is doing, and do you look at their environmental picture? Do you look at them and think, oh, they're sustainable, I want to...
And that social media now, I taking picture on social media on this ferry and sending and making Instagram stories or picture, that we got more
exposure?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's also new normal.
If I was a passenger, to come onto the Finnlines vessel, I have to have a car, really, or a bicycle, I believe.
Yes.
But if I was just a foot passenger, I couldn't very easily get to Kapellskär.
But that's why we got these new
superstar vessels.
Yeah.
Then it starts to be possible. Think that maybe there is coming a new bus line, and also in the Finnish side, there is. It's much more easier maybe to come to Naantali than from Stockholm to Kapellskär.
So are you going to be working on the new ships then? You hope.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. There is more restaurant, cafe, and there is a lounge and under the star on deck.
It's like a winter garden, more or less.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically even in the winter you can sit out under the stars.
Yes.
We have a spa and a sauna.
Well, it's soon time for me to leave Europa Link. It's Monday evening and we're coming into Naantali, where my journey continues to Helsinki. I mentioned in the start of this episode that the Baltic Sea is important for many reasons, and one of those is its environmental sensitivity. Because it is virtually landlocked, it is more like a lake than a sea. It's brackish, and all the rivers and the land runoff from the 9 countries surrounding it, they all go into the Baltic. This includes, obviously, all the waste, any pollution, agricultural runoff, with its high loads of nutrients, particularly nitrogen, which leads to the sea becoming famous for its eutrophication in the summer, and the curse of the blue-green algae that thrives. It kills off habitats, livelihoods, making resource management difficult, and it impacts beaches, making them dangerous to swim in and doing a lot of bad for the tourism. So who better to talk to about the health of the Baltic than HELCOM? It's the intergovernmental organisation bringing together the Baltic states to try and restore the sea's health.
So these algal blooms are a very dramatic symbol and a symptom of eutrophication. Now, eutrophication is, as I said, the single most important threat. It affects roughly 96% of the sea, so basically the entire Baltic Sea, all open sea areas and considerable parts of the coastal waters as well. And it has dramatic effects because, of course, it leads to areas which are hypoxic, which means they don't have enough oxygen, or even anoxic, which means they have no oxygen at all. And that's the infamous dead zones in the Baltic Sea. So I think anybody can easily grasp how dramatic.
So welcome back to the second episode of the Baltic Tour on the Aronnax podcast, where I start in Helsinki visiting HELCOM to talk about the health of the Baltic, then head off to Vuosaari port to join the Finnlines passenger ro-ro Finlady for the southbound trip all the way through the Baltic to Travemünde in Germany. Until then, bon voyage.